Hello, welcome back to the Bioanxiety podcast. Today we have the very funny Veronica.
Hello.
You all may know her on Instagram as Veronica K all day. And yeah, you come on the podcast today to speak about a little about your career. I want to find out what it's like to be a comedian in New York.
It's fun.
Yeah, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I started comedy in LA and then I was like, wanted to do something new. Kind of had friends that had ended up in New York, so I was like, let me try it. And then moved here a few years ago. I'm coming up on like 3 years, which is crazy. And then was like mostly doing stand up for a while, and then like more recently have just been like focusing on a lot of like, you know, TikTok and Reels. And it's been really fun. I feel like I've met like a really fun community of like comics that also do that, and then other just kind of creators. And it's like it's so fun. Like you just kind of walk around with your friends and like dick around, and then you just made something funny and hopefully like relatable. And yeah, it's a great it's a great life.
Yeah, I mean, I love your videos.
Thank you.
So, I've been following actually for quite a while now. I think at least
Oh,
6 months. So,
Okay, great.
How do you like come up with your content? Like,
I feel like so much of it is like a muscle, and in a way it's just because I've been doing comedy for a while. It's kind of like just how I naturally, I guess, think of things, which I don't think is always a good thing, because sometimes I'll be in a situation and like a friend will be talking to me, and in my head I'm like, this would be so funny, and I'm just like, okay, bitch, you need to listen, like be present. So it's like partly just kind of that, like being observant in situations. And I also do feel like I thought about this a lot. Like I feel like weird things happen to me and like I end up in weird situations. And I'm like, I always ask myself, like, do I seek those out because I know it'll like result in something funny, or does the universe somehow send them to me? I don't really know. It's probably somewhere in the middle, but I just feel like I'm frequently having moments where I'm like, hold on, this is like funny. And yeah, I think I'm just good at recognizing something and then being like, oh, I could turn this into like gold.
I think the universe sends it to you.
I hope so. Yeah.
So you can make
Yeah.
a video out of it or a reel. Did you always want to be a comedian growing up?
Like, yes and no. I mean, I was like a very shy child, so that was never really on my radar. And then, but I was always like my parents are, I'm like the least funny person of my family. My family is so funny, and it is like do or die in the house. Like, you better be like going, going, going. So I was always around that. And so I, by virtue of that, was always kind of like the funny friend, but I didn't think that there was like more to be done in that. I was like, oh, I'm just the funny friend. I'm going to focus on school or whatever. And I remember so distinctly saying to like a friend one time, I was like, oh, wouldn't it be crazy if I was like, I did comedy? It's like, you can do that actually. And I said that when I was like so young, as if that was not a possibility, which is kind of funny to think about now. So I feel like it probably was in my head, just I didn't realize it was realistic.
Oh, but that's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I would be really nervous. I don't know if I could do it.
I feel like, yeah, I was the first, like, obviously the first time on stage, I like literally think I blacked out. But
Oh my God.
once you kind of do it once, you're like, oh, great, I can do anything now.
Yeah, you have a show coming up, right?
Yes, on the 19th.
Okay, where is it going to be at?
It's going to be at the Comedy Shop, so not too far.
Okay. Yeah. My friends were actually looking for a comedy show. Last night, they were trying to like go to the place on on McDougal.
The Cellar?
The Comedy Cellar,
Nice.
yeah. But they're always looking for comedy shows, her and her boyfriend. So I was like, I
You
will
should
be there on
come.
the 19th.
Yeah, come. Ours is fun because it's like if Hot Ones meets stand up, so someone has to do like a spicy challenge.
Oh no.
It's very like it's very silly, and yeah, it's a good time.
That's a really fun idea, actually. What has it been like so far in New York for you as a comedian?
It's been great. I feel like my style has really changed, which is not something I was expecting, but like it's really changed positive for a good thing, for in a good way. I can't speak. It's changed in a good way, which has been really fun. I feel like my network it's obviously different than it was in LA, but in a nice way though. The people I am closest with here is a lot of previously LA comics, and I feel like we all moved here around the same time. We're like, you wanna hang out? So that's been kind of cool. And I just think it's nice being in a city. I mean, you've lived in LA and New York too, but like just in a city where there's a lot of creative people and people that are just doing interesting things and are kind of like they're just always down. Like I enjoy the fact that like I feel like I could reach out to someone, or they could reach out to me and be like, hey, do you want to collab together, even if you've never met, and then it could turn into something like just really fun and cool. So I like that the general energy here is like, let's be fun, let's be creative, and like let's just make shit.
Yeah, I feel like people in New York though are more like open to that.
Totally.
Okay, because like when I lived in LA, I did some acting when I was very young. I don't know, I had like a lot of acting friends and we would like do collabs together, but I do feel like it was harder there.
I've thought about this, like, honestly, with comedy and with dating, where I'm like, is it just because it's harder to get around in LA? Whereas, like, here, you're like, okay, you can just hop on a train. I can, like, do work on my phone or read a book. And, like, worst case, like, it doesn't, for some reason, it doesn't feel like I wasted time. Whereas I feel like in LA, if someone was like, if someone lived in, like, let's say, I mean, I used to live in West Hollywood. If someone that lived in Santa Monica was like, hey, do you want to come over and collab? I'd be like, oh, absolutely not.
Oh my God.
Fuck no.
Like, I mean, to get there is like an hour and a half.
Right,
Which
in
should be
like the
10
worst
minutes.
traffic that has ever existed. So maybe
Yeah.
that's part of it.
Also, I do think dating in LA is worse than here.
Agreed.
Like here,
Hard
yeah.
agree.
No, it's true. And I definitely think that distance, like how far you have to go, is definitely like a big factor. Yes, we know.
He was like,
you
yes,
agree.
same.
He's like, I don't
He's
like
like,
anyone.
yes, I heard that.
So to get like further into comedy, did you have to take acting classes or anything?
I feel like I got into comedy a weird way that like most people probably wouldn't recommend, but I did take a stand-up class. My company at the time where I worked paid for it, so I sort of was like, there's literally no reason not to. And I'm actually glad that I did, because I was so shy, and it was nice to have someone like forcing me. And it was like, this is when you're getting on stage. We have 6 weeks. You're writing these jokes once a week. We're meeting. Like, there was just a lot of accountability. Whereas I feel like had I not had that, I would probably be that girl still that's like, yeah, I'll probably try an open mic one time. And it's like, you're never going to do it. So I feel like when people shit on classes, and like, I do think like, if you're not funny, a class is not going to teach you how to be funny. It might teach you how to write, which is not a bad thing. But I think if you just need that little bit of like a kick in the ass, it was a really good thing for me. I took one acting class in LA and it was horrible. So.
Wait, which one?
Oh, I don't remember. The class was great. It was horrible for me because I'm such a shit actor. And I remember being in this class and like everyone was really good. And I was just like, hey, what? And we had to do this scene. I don't know why this was so funny to me, but it was some like scene of like a couple fighting, or I don't remember exactly what it was. But I just was like not interacting with the guy. I was not interacting with my surroundings. And the teacher just stops. He's like, are you a stand-up? And I was like, yes. How do you know? He's like, no, I don't know who you are. I can just tell because you're literally so awkward and you're used to being on stage alone and you are not engaging with anyone and anything around you. Like, this is supposed to be your husband and you're like not talking to him. I was like, that's interesting.
Wow.
So I was just not good at it.
But you're a very good comedian.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I tried it.
That's what you're meant to be doing.
I hope so. Yeah, acting was embarrassing.
So you didn't mention, obviously, like you went around it a different way. If there are people out there, which I know there are a lot, because I've spoken to people who asked me to like, oh, do you know anybody who does acting or comedy? What kind of advice would you give to somebody who wants to like break into the field or start going in, but they're not quite sure?
I feel like this way about anything in life, but I'm very big on like, don't think, just act. Like, you're gonna talk yourself out of something a million ways. It's crazy how our brains will do that. So just like literally sometimes like don't even think about it. Just book the class. Like, that was kind of how the stand-up class was, honestly. Like, I feel like I found out my company would pay for it. I booked it, and then I was like, wait, what? I guess I have to go to that next week. So like, just like take one tiny step, and you'd kind of be surprised how things will grow.
That's really nice though, like how they like paid for it and
It's
stuff.
really nice, yeah.
I like doing like what's the class? Oh, Toastmasters.
I've heard of that. Wait, should I check it out?
You should check it out, because
Okay.
I'm quite shy, and like Toastmasters has really helped me with like this. Like
I feel like it's once you kind of like do something like that once too, don't you feel like this confidence boost of you're like,
no.
oh.
No, I've had to go to like a few
Really?
to even be like, okay, I'm comfortable talking on stage.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just get like really bad stage fright.
I feel you.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. I mean, think about how many people like they don't even do that, and they just like are always in fear. So it's at least you're facing it.
Like, how do you get over that? Like, I mean, you have to go in front of like
Girl,
so many people.
Genuinely, the way I almost failed a public speaking class in college it's so funny to me, because like I would stand up in that class and I couldn't even say my name. Like, it was embarrassing. And this was like an athlete like grade booster class, and I was like, not me getting an F. Like, this is so bad. And I just think something about stand-up specifically, like, it was so personal, and also you're eliciting like laughter. I feel like sometimes giving a talk and everyone's just staring at you, even if they're loving it, you're like, okay, I'm a fucking loser. Whereas like with stand-up, people are laughing. I don't know, I think something about that energy I was able to feed off of. And like, I remember doing my first show, and like the first joke landed, and it was like, I was like, oh, this is actually nice. So I guess it's a blend of like the audience reaction and also when you're kind of talking about yourself more authentically. I don't know why I find that easier than like if you were to tell me like, oh, go, I don't know, give a speech, give a TED talk, I'd be like, that sounds awful.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do that.
No.
Wait, what did you study in college?
I studied economics and communications.
Wow, so you like
Yeah,
did a complete
I don't know. I don't know what that was about.
360.
But,
Hey,
yeah.
at least, but you still went to college.
Yeah.
Right. So what's next for Veronica K?
Okay, I really want to write a book.
Okay.
I hope I'm not jinxing it by saying it out loud, but like,
No, we're gonna put it out there.
I really want to write a book. And I have 2 ideas. So I want to at least like work on one of them this year. That's like my biggest goal. I guess just kind of like, it feels kind of like stupid to say, like grow my following, but like, you know, I just kind of want to keep growing that channel and hopefully like connecting with people and just, I don't know, it's been a fun community of a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm also as traumatized by this, or like, it's nice to know like, oh, I'm not the only one that
You can relate.
Yeah. So those are like the 2 big things. And yeah.
How much time like do you spend on content? Because I know it's
Ooh.
quite like you post quite a bit, right?
It's a lot. Yeah. Like, honestly, it's just, I hate editing. I don't know if you have that.
I hate it.
I hate it.
I hate it.
I really hate it. But so that probably takes me the longest because I'm like, I'm not enjoying it. And I'm trying to find some joy in the like piecing together of, you know, pieces. But filming, I feel like I probably do like a few hours a week. And then, yeah, the editing is like, honestly, on the train, that's like prime editing time for me. Or if I need like a break, I do still have a day job. So if I'm like ever taking like a 20-minute break or something from work, I'll just kind of like go sit on the couch and be like, ugh.
Can I ask what you do in the day?
I'm a copywriter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And do they approve of like your side gig? Well, it's not really a side gig. Like you do.
Yeah,
You have like 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah, they
So,
like know about it, and I definitely like I do prioritize that job because it's paying the bills. But I think it's a more flexible job, so it's pretty easy to kind of like be done at 5 and then like go meet up with someone at a bar and film, or like do weekends. And yeah, it hasn't been too bad to manage. And it is that funny thing of like, I try, honestly, if anyone's watching, I tried to block everybody, but at a certain point, it was just like I didn't have the energy. And then I did have like coworkers that were like, so you came up on my feed. I was like, oh no.
Well, that's awesome.
But yeah, I was like, okay, so
Right.
that's cool. But yeah.
Wait, so since you're a copywriter, you know how to write very well then.
I would like to think so.
So your book is going to be, I'll be waiting for these books.
I hope. But then I feel like there's all this pressure. Okay, I have to write a maid of honor speech, and I am like freaking out because I'm like, oh my God, there's so much pressure on me as someone who's like paid to write things. It's got to be good. And I'm like really in my head.
No, it's going to be good.
I hope so.
Just take your
like,
time. Like,
yeah.
No, I know. I had to write one of those for my sister's wedding.
It's a lot of pressure.
I didn't say anything that I wrote.
Oh, really?
Oh, I couldn't. No,
you just like ripped?
Stage fright. Like the page became blank.
You're like, you are my sister.
Yeah. Cool. The page literally became blank.
Oh, no.
Like, so you have quite like a unique career, right? Because you know it's kind of hard to like go into comedy. You're in the public eye. Your Instagram is becoming like you're getting a lot of followers now, and your videos have a lot of views. Do you ever have like work anxiety from this, or like career anxiety that it might not work out, or like you just can't do it? Like, and how do you manage that when you have these moments?
Yes. I feel like my biggest anxiety is like definitely like what if this doesn't work out, but also kind of like, oh, what if this kind of gets like out of my control, and like what if I just like wake up one day and I can't think of a video to post ever again and I stop being funny? Like I don't know why that is like always in my head. I'm like, what if this is the last funny thing I ever make? And then I just will never do that again. And I think like, I mean, as far as staying balanced, big on working out and like just doing something like physical. I know we were talking about ballet. So like just kind of like getting out of my head and doing something that's like more body focused is really helpful for me. I'm very lucky that I have a great group of friends and I'm close to my family. And I feel like I'm always just like texting them being like, I need a spiral for 5 minutes. Can we do that? So I think having that community is super helpful. Because sometimes you just need to say it out loud. You're like, I'm realizing what I'm saying is just like anxious thoughts and I just need to say it and then we can be done. So I find that helpful. And just like in a way, like staying organized helps me, because then I feel like I just look at things maybe more as like, okay, these are the tasks that I have to do. And again, with the whole like just don't think about it as like you can't be anxious if you're like this is a thing I must do. But yeah, definitely anxious all the time.
Well, I guess as one final question that I love to ask everybody, what is the one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Ooh. well, if I can't also tell myself the same thing I said earlier of like, just do it, that is copyrighted. I think I would say this is like such a annoying advice, but I do think it's true. Like, just get out of your head. Like, no one. I feel like I always had this like weird paranoia that like everyone's talking shit about me, no one likes me, everyone's gonna judge me. It's like actually no one cares, and maybe there are a few people that are judging you, but like why do you give a fuck? Like, so
You
if you can
shouldn't.
just kind of get over that and just yeah, I wish I'd gotten over that sooner because I think I spent a lot of time like self-sabotaging because I was like, what are people gonna think? It's like again, no one cares. And if anything, a lot of people have reached out and been like, oh my God, like I'm so proud of you. Like this is awesome. And it's funny to me because I'm like, wait, if the roles were reversed, if and when they are reversed, like aren't you the same way with people? You're like, you're killing it. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I do think people generally are more positive than we maybe like give them credit in our heads.
Yeah, I do think the people that judge are the ones that are too afraid to do what you're doing.
Right. So it's like, why do I care about their opinion? But yeah, I don't know. That was like a weird, maybe that's just being like young is kind of having those anxieties. But
I think everyone goes through it,
yeah.
honestly, because I thought a lot about that. And a lot of my guests as well mentioned that. They were like, oh, I'm so worried to do this. I was so worried to start this business. I was so
Yeah.
worried to release this film. So I understand you.
Yeah.
Well, it was so lovely to meet
Yeah,
you.
this was awesome.
Like,
Thanks
I'm
for having
very
me.
excited to
I'm glad I get to meet your
come.
dogs.
I'm going to come to your show on the
Yeah.
19th. Everybody go to her show.
Please come. It'll be really fun.
And then, yeah, follow Veronica K all day on Instagram. Thank you.
Thank you. This was awesome.